We are going to talk about so much football today. So much football. Like the most football ever.
All the footballs.
All the footballs. We're going to talk about Terrell Owens coming back. We're going to talk about Derek Carr not coming back. We're going to talk about my illustrious run to the first overall pick game. We're going to talk about people losing in horrible ways to not go to the fantasy championship. And we're going to talk about Mercedes Lewis because apparently he's still in the NFL. So, which is going to be, it's going to be a time. You pick the right day to watch this show or listen. If you're listening, that's okay. This is That Helps No One, FantasyCast on the Dean Blundell Network. We took a little bit of a hiatus because I got stuck in California and I had no access to the machine that is this. So, yeah, I'm not complaining, but I do miss you guys. How are things?
Cold.
Yeah. Okay. Actually, no, it shouldn't. It was cold.
Yeah.
And then it just flipped 180. We went in like a 2-day span from being like minus 25 to what are we, like 3 degrees right now, Steve?
Mushy rain, and it's gross. Roads are gross, slippery but not slippery. City crews have not bothered to shovel out anything, and it's like just a disaster. It's not Vancouver bad, but it's bad. It's bad. You know.
It's bad.
Ted, your microphone is on, but it looks like you're not on air today. So is your radio job like on hiatus for now? Or
it's a little too bright.
Oh,
it's a sunspot.
You should figure out a way to like click it off and on, like a.
We could give everybody seizures and stuff like that.
Yeah, you know what? We're good for all kinds of things. So, Steve, how was your fishing trip?
Always good.
Perfect. This is great. Chris might join us possibly. If you want to chat with us on our YouTube page, by all means, come on by and tell us about how you got to the championship or how you just missed it. Or you lost by 100 or you lost by 0.1, because those stories are equally great. Or maybe just somebody decided to not play like a DeAndre Hopkins.
Play DeAndre Hopkins. What are you talking about?
Well, I mean, he played, but they didn't give him the ball.
They tried to.
Yeah. That's true.
It was really hilarious. I was looking at, I can't remember, it might have been like Pro Football Focus or something like that. Yeah. And they had a week 16 busts team.
Yeah.
So if you had these players on your team, you like got lit up. So like Justin Fields, DeAndre Hopkins was on there, Ramondre.
Let me check my roster. I could probably tell you who that team is.
Adams.
Exactly. It's probably your team, Ted.
This is what we've been talking about this whole time, like the whole year and even into last year a little bit, where we were talking about it honestly doesn't matter. You can go and assemble the super mega team and you got one bad week. That week for me was week 15, which is week 1 of my playoffs, which is why I wanted the first round bye. Didn't get the first round bye, got kicked out in the first round because week 15 was a crapshoot. Well, turns out I was right about my team's week 16. I had a great week 16. It just didn't matter for me. Everyone else's crapshoot week was week 16. So as soon as I'm out, I'm here for the chaos. Like, all I want is the wildest, weirdest things. Somebody's heart gets ripped out of their chest because I want hurt people hurt other people, right?
Yeah. Pro ridiculousness.
Yeah. So speaking of ridiculousness, so Chris and I actually played for the semifinal for the first overall pick, and
you should explain that for people.
We had such a chaos week in LA. Our flight got canceled on Wednesday, so we were stranded for the time being down in Los Angeles, which isn't a terrible thing, but when you're trying to get home for Christmas to see the rest of your family, it's not the greatest. So anyway, figured it out. We were going to be staying in LA. I'm like, wait, is there a chance I could go see the Rams play the Broncos on Christmas Day? And I'm thinking, yes, there is a chance. Now, my flight was at 5:30 and I got poo-pooed on that pretty quickly. But, that's how it goes. So this is just as unbelievable. I've been talking about this all year about my random team. You guys have joked about how it's kind of a disaster. And I always said, like, there's there's a smidgen of hope there that I'm actually an okay team. It's just things weren't working out. And of course, of all weeks, it comes to the semifinals, and Chris and I were back and forth. And I would just like to go through quickly of how crazy my week was starting. And I'm sure you guys all saw on Twitter, like, who had the Cam Akers, Tyler Higbee stack? It makes no sense whatsoever. They blew up for a combined 42 points. I had Dante Foreman, who had 22 points. I had apparently James Conner decided he wanted to have a fun day, so he had 18 points. By the way, my quarterback this week was Andy Dalton. He of 3.58 points. I had what's his name? Is it Jordan Mason? I started him, which was a bad idea. He had 0 points. That was fun. And I didn't start Dotson, who had 13.5 points. And I'm thinking, geez, that's going to let me up. Oh, by the way, I had George Kittle. So 4 guys alone, I already beat Chris. And then I added the rest of my roster, and I almost doubled them up. It was 141 to 74. Of all weeks for my team to just like totally fluke out, it was the right week. And I actually have a legitimate chance of, we're in the consolation final, which is where you can win the first pick. And I play my cousin in there, and it's sadly going to be close. So now I'm thinking, who do I start? Brock Purdy? Aaron Rodgers somehow is on the waiver wire. Tom Brady's on the waiver wire to nowhere. It's weird. So anyway, anything is possible in fantasy football for all the stupidest reasons you can lose, and sometimes for all the stupidest reasons you can win. So I am championing my cause because it makes absolutely no sense of why I'm here. Why couldn't I had a week like that in, like, I don't know, week 12 or week 13?
I think you would have needed a lot more than just like one good week. Mm-hmm. Because I think you had to have enough of those weeks to like make it the playoffs first.
And now that's true. That's a fair comment. And Kyle, the guy that I was battling with for like 4 weeks, he's in the final. Although he was dealt a pretty rough hand today, as Derrick Henry is not going to be playing on Thursday Night Football. He's a league winner in pretty much every league. So when you lose your top running back and you pretty much have 0 backup option, that's a big gut punch to start your week, and it hasn't even started yet. So I don't know.
I would just like to say it because this is kind of like a full circle moment when you were saying, like, why is Aaron Rodgers on the waiver wire? I did that.
Yeah.
And I did that for a very specific reason. So when I knew I was out, if you are in a keeper league and you're out, there's no point holding on to guys who have no chance of becoming a keeper at all. Aaron Rodgers will never be a keeper for me. I don't even care if I start him this week. I don't even care if I start Lamar, because guess what? I don't have to start a roster this week now that I figured it out. So what I do is I drop all the dead weight and I pick up any sort of player who might just hold like just the smallest little lottery ticket. So a week and a half ago, I added Hassan Haskins, rookie running back, could be backing up Derrick Henry should anything go wrong. So I add him, and in Sleeper, you can put down like little like laughing emojis or like thumbs up to like moves and stuff like that. One of the boys in there has like the crying laughing face at me, and I'm like, oh yeah, like just wait. If it ever pans out, because I don't need Aaron Rodgers. If I drop Aaron Rodgers and Derrick Henry like tears an ACL in the offseason, I've got a rookie running back who's going to take the helm of a team who pounds the rock.
You got an instant start right there.
A little, like the lottery tickets maybe just looking a little bit cleaner now. I mean, no, I don't think you're going to start him against Dallas. Dallas is pretty good against running backs this year, but I know the guy Kyle's playing right now. I apologize to Kyle. I said, hey, Kyle, I'm so sorry. Last week I picked up Haskins. Sounds like Derrick Henry's not going to play. He goes, it's okay. I'm used to losing in the finals. The guy Kyle's playing messaged me and said, thank you so much for picking up Haskins. So I'm like, I got like the devil and the angel on my shoulder of 2 people in the finals. And I literally don't care about either of them because I'm not in the finals.
Yeah, and you're right. This is the time to do it, because if you can hit on any of those lottery tickets, as we get into the time where you have to pick keepers next year, now you've got trade bait. And you don't even need these guys anyway. So now these are waiver wire pickups right now when everybody's freaking out about either making the finals or whatever. And at some point, everybody's just going to kind of leave it alone, right? So why not add them? Because when it comes time to set your keepers, all of a sudden, oh, I need a rookie, or oh, I need this. Well, for a 4th round pick, you can have this. Instantly, you're a genius, and all you have to do is click a button.
It's shenanigan week, right? Like it's always like this. So
What was that place called again?
What's that place with all the shit on the walls?
Shenanigans?
It's powdered sugar. It's delicious.
Yeah.
I love this time of week because, like, I mean, Ryan, you know, when we played in that old sort of first right of refusal bid league, right? There's always so much positioning going, right? There's so much like roster gymnastics that have to happen via injuries or IR spots. And, you know, and this is usually the time of year where you're getting down to, you know, everybody only has, you know, 5 or 6 fab bucks left, and you're trying to sort of save it in case you need it, right? And you can be in a situation like I was a few years back where I needed Khalil Bell off the Chicago Bears roster because we had a running back go out, and knowing that was the guy that I wanted, and knowing that there was 3 other guys ahead of me that had more fab bucks, I had to like put fake bids out on everybody else, hoping that they'd outbid me so that when the time came, I could bid on the player that I really wanted, knowing that everybody else had spent their bucks, right? And then lo and behold, you get him and he goes off and you win your fantasy football week. But that can't happen and without all the roster gymnastics, right? So Steve doing this nasty little pickup, not maliciously, but, you know, shame on Kyle for not having him on his roster. Because I think you have to. I mean, I went out and made a trade for Daniel Jones just so I could have a backup quarterback because of the crap that's available out there. You have to sort of hedge your bets come playoff time. So, I mean, you know, Kyle hasn't lost all of the finals. I mean, he's got one under his belt, but
he said he's one for 10.
Yeah. Maybe he has lost a lot of finals, but yeah, he is the guy that I thought would have had him on his roster. So, you know, kudos to you, Steve. I mean, that is a lottery ticket pick, and right up until the point that Tennessee drafts another running back, that's a great pick, right? I mean, and that's many, many, many months and weeks down the road. So that's a fun one.
And here's another thing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, you mentioned like it's not maliciously, because honestly, like I don't care who wins the finals. I have no stake in this. There's no reason for me to do like I'm going to pick up every quarterback so that you have to start a garbage quarterback. Like this was 6 days ago. I added Haskins. Like we didn't know Derrick Henry was going to be down. This is my time of year where all I'm thinking about is greedy Steve is deciding to like think for himself and himself only. So like
greedy Stevie
is on full effect. Like I don't need Aaron Rodgers. I don't need Dawson Knox. Like all of these guys that have zero chance of being kept. Like some of the guys I have added are Haskins, Isaiah Spiller, Jalen Warren, Raheem Blackshear. Like it's a big lottery ticket. Like probably worse than maybe the actual lottery, but that like we're talking about, that 1% chance that something Najee Harris goes down with an ACL. You got Jalen Warren just sitting on your bench. Trade bait, or you just keep them. Maybe I want to go in next year to try and win again. It's kind of my MO every year. So like could just be sitting there waiting for me. So think for yourself this week and into shenanigans week.
And so going into the final week, or I guess once the season ends, if there's like a guy that has been basically that's underperformed, and we've seen a lot of these lists in the last couple of days, pay attention to those lists. Pay attention to the guy maybe you've been trying to get all season, and now that everything's over and everybody's got their guards down, if there's you can make a trade. Like I've been looking at Treylon Burks since the draft, to be honest. In the next 2 weeks is going to be the easiest time. I mean, depending on what happens at quarterback there, I mean, Malik Willis is not great yet, and there's a lot of ifs over there. But I mean, the ceiling on him, if he gets something going, is going to be massive. And I'm not saying go after Treylon Burks, but there's guys out there that you can have access to that have had bad seasons that are going to rebound. Or, I mean, there's some guys that take a few years, but look at who's out there, because this is when you're going to get them at their absolute lowest cost. And you could set yourself pretty nice, and it might not cost you anything. It might cost you, I don't know, 10th round pick or something like that for a guy that ends up being, a bona fide starter in week 1 next year. So look at that as well, because everybody's guard's going to be down.
Yeah, you should also be checking the IR stashes. Like, go into your league. I know Sleeper. I love Sleeper for this because you can actually filter by guys that are on the IR. So, like,
It's almost too easy. There's no excuse really.
right. Like, if you are on Sleeper, that's a really good point, Ted. There is absolutely no reason why you should not be able to at least go scour the IR report. Like, a guy like John Mechie might be on there. Highly touted guy, wasn't playing because of some medical issues, or I grabbed Rashad Penny 6 days ago when I grabbed Haskins, and our boy Chris was like, "You son of a what?" Like, I was gonna go get him right now, and to me, I only had 2 guys on my IR spots. Fill them up. They're just sitting there. Who cares? Like, Rashad Bateman is on IR. Like, what happens if he's looking like a wide receiver 1 next year? Yeah.
And not just IR, suspension. Like, Calvin Ridley, let's bring him up quickly too. Like, he's been sitting on my IR or on the suspension list all year.
Yep.
There was a 1% chance they reinstate him this year, maybe at best.
Nope.
Realistically, no. He's sitting there. If you can have Calvin Ridley for free, and again, he may not have a great season next year. Who knows what kind of shape he's in?
No, he's going to.
If he blows up, that is the freest wide receiver 1 you're going to get next year.
Not only is he just sitting there, but he is going to, like, that's going to be my way too early blowout candidate prediction. Like, Calvin Ridley is playing with a good quarterback for the first time ever. He's super talented. That Jags team looks like they're ready to explode. He's going to be their wide receiver number 1. I know Christian Kirk is he's actually been one of the better offseason pickups, even though everyone laughed at that contract that they gave him.
It was just an overpay. That's all. He's still a good receiver.
Yeah. Calvin Ridley, I think you're crazy. If he is sitting anywhere on the waiver wire, just go get him for free. Drop yourself a Dawson Knox. If you're not using the guy, who cares? Like, don't keep someone useless on there when you've got a wide receiver 1. Calvin Ridley's also, I think, 25 years old too. Like, you're gonna have him for a little while.
He bet on football. He didn't use PEDs.
Bet on his team to win.
Yeah.
Not like he was like, I'm gonna bet against the Falcons and sandbag so I win a bunch of money. Like, he bet on his team to win.
Yeah. He's Pete Rose.
Anyways, I got in trouble on Twitter for talking about that stuff, so I won't.
Really?
Well, not in trouble, but everyone was like, "Are you kidding me? Wrong is wrong." Blah, blah,
yeah,
blah.
wrong is wrong. You can bet on yourself to win and you get to spend it for a whole season, or you can do shitty things in massage parlors and only get 11 games. Wrong is wrong, my ass.
Yeah. Totally the same thing, though. Totally the same.
Can't compare apples to oranges is what I was told.
Did you guys see the Russell Wilson press conference today?
Not by me, for the record.
Right. just so we're out there. Just so we got that out there. Did you guys see
spend the man?
Yeah, right. Did you see Russ at his press conference today?
Old man Russ?
Yeah. So he goes on and the whole song and dance, like Nate's, he's great guy, like, I wish the best for him. I wish blah blah blah. And he goes, I wish I could have played better for him. Like, yeah, I think everyone wishes you could have played better for him. That's why he got fired, you idiot. So, like, right now, as it sits, and I can't remember what needs to happen. Obviously, they need to lose out, the Broncos, and I think the Bears also need to lose. Is that correct?
Let's ride.
Yeah. For Seattle to get the Broncos' 2nd overall pick, it's almost locked in that they get the 3rd overall pick, which is unreal. And then I think they have 12th pick right now as well. What a season! What a season! Somebody
how that works. If Denver wins, there's a couple teams that have 5 wins, and if they win again, there's a lot of teams that have 6 wins. So I'm not sure how it's locked in. Are they just saying that based on who they play? Is that kind of the
I think strength of schedule, yeah. I mean, realistically, they're not going to be winning, let's be honest.
Good. Oh, they have the Chiefs.
Whoops. Dashed.
You ain't. And then they have the Chargers. Okay, so I see where they're going with that.
Yeah. So, I mean, just, again, we can bring it up one more time. I saw somebody posted the Super Bowl score today from whatever the Super Bowl was that the Seahawks won. And they're like, this is the Russell Wilson trade. Like, yeah, pretty much. What else we got here? My boy is back.
It's like we just woke up this year and like all of a sudden Russell Wilson was like old.
Yeah.
He was completely fine. It's crazy to me that the Seahawks aren't re-signing him. Let's ride, all the good stuff. And then somehow Russell Wilson is older than Aaron Rodgers. How did that happen? I don't know.
This is why football is so awesome, because it is so unpredictable. Like, don't you guys remember in the offseason, everybody was like, the NFC West, oh my gosh, you're going to have 4 playoff teams. These are going to be the best teams ever. And then you've got the Broncos and the Raiders, and you're like, are you even NFL like eligible anymore?
Yeah.
Like,
is this thing on?
Yeah, you guys were supposed to be like lead the division, and everyone had Kansas City behind all these like new teams, and Kansas City's like, yeah, we're still here. Like, what's up?
There's like, I mean, I said it a little earlier in the year, but there is no league in sports that writes storylines, like epic storylines, ridiculous storylines, Cinderella storylines, in-game moment storylines like the NFL does. It's just not comparable. Like, the unthinkable seems to happen every single week, whether it's in a game or a specific play or some behind the scenes thing or a trade. Like, honestly, like it's craziness. This is the craziest league. And this is one of the craziest seasons that I can remember in at least the last like 10 years.
You want to know what's really crazy, Ted? I'm looking at a possibility that I would rather start a guy that took horse injections than a guy that says, let's ride. Like, I'm looking at 2 quarterbacks and I'm thinking, I would rather start an Aaron Rodgers and everything we know about him than Russell Wilson. It makes no sense to me.
Con Air, baby.
Con Air. Yeah, what's that? That's a rock.
Yeah, by the by, Steve, that might be a great Halloween costume for you.
What's that?
The Con Air costume.
Yeah, I think
we do Disney in this house.
Fair enough.
I'm sure it's on Disney Plus. I'm sure they're own. I'm sure they're own.
That's how I justify it.
Quickly Google's like, babe, it's on Disney Plus, so it's practically. I mean, he's Mickey's best friend. So, yeah, not the greatest. Yeah, Mike White is back this week, so they play the Seahawks, and I could not be more excited. You guys, how come I didn't get a Mike White jersey in my mailbox for Christmas? I really thought.
I can't believe already.
Yeah, we tried to order one for you, but it turns out they don't exist.
No, I've seen them.
Unless you live in New Jersey, you can't get a Mike White.
I think what people are doing is they're ripping Zach Wilson name bars off. You know, like the Canucks use.
Yes.
100 of those.
Trick.
Sundin to who was it?
Oh
yeah, it was 13.
Ones come back as 13 and 18.
I can't even remember.
We'll
think of it. We'll think of it one day. I'll let you Google it. Well,
okay.
I can't remember. Kurt, something with a K. Something with a K.
It's like Cody Hodgson to Zach Cassian jerseys.
Yeah, that all worked out. That worked out. So Mike White's back. They play the Seahawks this week. It's going to be awesome. Get you some. But you know what, guys? For the final time this season, unless we decide, you know what? For the final time this season, we are going to get into the segment of all segments. This is better than anything you'll see on any other football show on national television, cable, your local PBS channel, whatever. It's time for THNO Stars. I'm going to just translate back to that. Just working on that. Just working on the... Yeah. So, guys, we missed last week, and I didn't want to combine it, so we had like 8, because that just gets nauseating of seeing guys screw over your roster. So, Steve, this guy has been picked a lot this season, and yet he keeps showing up because he's doing the things, because nobody's starting him. So, who did you have this week?
Right, so I'm a multitasker. It was Steve Bernier. Remember number 18, Steve Bernier? A lot of Steve Bernier jerseys.
Mm-hmm.
My THNO star has not been picked all season. He's been picked once by me.
I'm pretty sure I had him in week 12.
Did you?
Yeah.
We'll check. Anyways, I said in episode 15, and I'm sure if Ted actually picked him in week 12, he would have said that he helped no one, because he did help no one. I'm still going to reiterate that message, because this guy not only took 1 touchdown, he took a second touchdown away from the likes of Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. If you had those guys in your fantasy football semifinals or finals, if you were in finals weeks, you were mad at Trenton Irwin the first. And he's a
Davis. Bills mix the extra point. Bears still lead 7-6. Back to you guys in New England.
The throw to the end zone. Caught for the touchdown.
Sorry about that.
How did he get that? How did he get that open?
Because nobody's covering him. Because they're like
March Chase effect, but like you got to cover the seam route of all the routes. Like he's just, hey, over here. Yeah, okay, I'll take my second one of the day. See you, Jamar Chase. Trenton Irwin. Who would have thunk it?
I mean, he was in Cortland Sutton territory. Which, guys, pass me. But he did get the ball in this case. So, that's how it goes sometimes. I'm going to go next. And before I show you my clip, this guy, I didn't even know he's still in the NFL, to be perfectly honest with you. And just in case you're wondering how long he's been in the NFL, I saw this tweet this week. Mercedes Lewis was on NFL 2K1 on the Sega Dreamcast. For all you guys that remember the Sega Dreamcast, that was a few years ago. In fact, 2K1 means 2001, so a long time ago. Great system, by the way. Sega Dreamcast.
That was Randy Moss on the cover of NFL 2K1.
There you go. You go. So, I didn't know he was still in the NFL, but he is, and he caught a touchdown too. Mercedes Lewis.
Pressure coming. Rodgers, sideline, Lewis! Mercedes Lewis sets up first and goal.
I think that was just the first time.
Like
whatever, it was still nice. That was a good haul.
Yeah, that was the clip I found. So,
like that's a fun little wheel route. I'm sure I didn't actually pay attention to who was covering him. I'm sure it's like a middle linebacker who's like stuffing runs, and he's like, oh, Mercedes Lewis, like, it's okay, he can't run. Like, neither can I. Damn. He's gonna catch it over me.
It was either a big like in the box like linebacker, or it was like some like 5'7" corner or something like that. Just an absolute mismatch.
Up on his back.
Like, how did that guy beat me? He's the fastest man alive. Couldn't do it. Like, bro, if he's beating you, you need to quit. You need to quit and get out now. Ted, who is your Thano this week?
Well, first off, so I verified it, Steve. Week 12, Trenton Irwin. Appreciate you jumping on the bandwagon with the early start in Thano. So that's a fun one. A couple times this year. So maybe he's this year's Jody Fortson. Who knows, right? He's been there a bunch of times and he's looked pretty good.
Where is Jody Fortson, by the way?
He's not a Thano. I don't think he's done anything.
He's on the IR, and the reason I know that is I went to go pick him up just to say I picked him up this year and then dropped him after, just to see what you guys would say.
Why did you do that?
I started so in our other sleeper league, I traded basically everybody away to stockpile draft picks because there was just no way that I was going to win, and I started Jody Fortson in a couple of weeks because it was just that bad. So that's the way she goes. I think he got me like 3 points, so it wasn't anything fantastic. But my Thano for this week is none other than Shane Zylstra. So if you haven't heard that name, 0% rostered, 0% started, but every once in a while you see, a tight end do this sort of short yardage end zone dash thing where he's a red zone target, and then bam, Shane Zylstra does it 3 times in one game, 5 catches for 26 yards, and this is just one of them.
Before I get into it, is it Zylstra or Zylstra?
I think it's Zylstra.
Because I mean, you spell a lot of things wrong in the document, so I'm just making sure that like your phonics are on par. So I'm gonna we'll find out in the clip. Let's find out.
Let's verify.
In that secondary, Goff each points quickly and touchdown, hat trick. Shane Zylstra with his 3rd touchdown of this game, his 4th of the season.
Well, there you have it. Pronunciation is correct. And week 12 was Trenton Irwin. So I'm verified on 2 accounts, boys.
Man, Ted is
on fire.
Go for the blue check mark, my friend.
It's only $8 a month.
Yeah, I think it's only $8 to get a blue check mark nowadays, right?
Yeah, you probably got to jump through a few extra hoops now, but that's fine. Chris is likely not going to be showing up. He is being a dad, and that's okay. I mean, sometimes it's not okay, but in this case, we'll allow it to be okay. And he's got a guy that I believe has been on the show before. Pretty sure. I would just trying to Google through all of our stuff here. But Raheem Blackshear started in 1% of leagues, 3 carries, 3 yards, and a TD. Absolutely awesome day if you are, in fact, Mr. Blackshear.
Blackshear, as Darnold keeps, flips to Blackshear, headed to the end zone, and in for a Panthers touchdown.
I wasn't kidding, Peeps. I picked him up.
It got worse after that. That's Zylstra had 3 TDs after that one. So it was an all in all. It was like a THNO star game, Carolina and the Lions. We all should have known. We should have known that was going to be the game of the week, but nobody was paying attention. Nobody's paying attention at all. It's kind of sad that portion of our season is over. The THNO stars. You guys have any fond memories of the failure to start people?
I did have a bonus THNO this year. I think he might be this year's first reverse THNO.
Yes,
because basically everybody started him in DeAndre Hopkins and walked away on 1 catch on 11 targets for 4 yards. So thank you, DeAndre Hopkins.
We talked about nuke. You nuked your chances at getting.
I got nuked by DeAndre. You know what? I got beat so badly that it wouldn't have mattered. I would have had to put up like 30 points. So I'm going to blame it on DeAndre, though.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, it's been a rough one. It's kind of sad. I don't think Jody Fortson had 1 TD this year, I think, right?
Yep.
Yeah, just 1?
Yeah, because I went to go pick him, and Ryan's like, no, I want to pick him because I want to be like Steve.
Instead of fat bucks, it's wine bucks.
Oh, Dad coming in.
Well played. Well played. Well, we have one more segment to get to, and it is with our good friend Taylor the One. It's Sneaky Starts with Taylor the One. I can see you and you can see me. I still haven't come up with a proper song for that one. Maybe we'll have a new guy on.
I think it's best that you didn't.
That just you had me doing it.
Yeah. It's a little different everybody. I like it. Yeah.
Fly by the seat of my pants. I appreciate that. Steve, if you were gonna find someone to start this week, and maybe help out the people that are in maybe consolation finals, because clearly you got a good roster for you. Well, maybe not. I mean, Derrick Henry is a pretty obvious reason why you should have a sneaky start this week.
Could just have a hot roster.
Good.
Yeah, like I don't even know what to think with fantasy football anymore. Like we said, it's a crapshoot. So my thing was, I believe there are no sneaky starts in championship week. You're picking your best guys, but guess what? DeAndre Hopkins can get you a point. Devontae Adams could get you a point. So what the hell do we know anyways? But if you were looking for like maybe an underrated start,
Yes.
Jerick McKinnon has been absolutely lights out. You heard me right. Jerick McKinnon, the guy that we were like,
10-foot pole list.
Yeah. 4 straight good weeks. I don't think anybody saw the resurgence. I know a lot of people, were maybe anticipating Clyde Edwards-Helaire taking like a backseat to Isaiah Pacheco, but they didn't see Jerick McKinnon kind of taking the reins. That's Andy Reid for you. He's very much like Bill Belichick. You just don't know what you're getting from him. He is only being started in 56% of sleeper leagues, which I find just absolutely bonkers. Against Denver week 14. Actually, I'll go back even further. Cincy, he had 12 fantasy points. Denver, 25.4. Houston, 26.2. Even last week against Seattle, 9.8. These are all standard numbers. So if you were in a PPR league, probably even more than that. Why are you not starting Jerick McKinnon?
I wasn't prepared. I'm
Even though
sorry.
it does mean points per reception. Thank you, Ryan.
Also,
Denver also has not been that great against running backs. So if you're one of the people who is still in and you're thinking to yourself, do I start Jerick McKinnon or do I start a guy like I don't know, who do I have? Devin Singletary playing the Bengals this week, and you're kind of like, it's a toss up. I'm probably riding the hot hand in Jerick McKinnon, to be honest. Weird things happen in fantasy football.
And that's saying something, right? Because you went out and got Devin Singletary specifically to start him this week, right? So
not this week. I actually got Devin Singletary, believe it or not, to start week 15 and week 16. Week 15, he put up a modest 7, which I'm okay with. It was a flex spot. That's a good show out against Chicago. Like, they suck. He went bonkers this week. Another thing that I hate about fantasy football is, of course, my team would start showing out in the playoffs, but against the wrong opponent, you can. So it's just one of those things. Like last week, if I would have been the 3rd seed, I would have won my first round matchup. I would have been playing the guy that I would have beat our buddy Devin by 0.6 points. He pointed that out to me. He said, "Oh, I'm so glad you didn't win because you would have beat me by 0.6, and that would have been an absolute devastating heartbreak." It's how it goes. How the game goes.
It's stupid. Ted, talk to us about some more stupid stuff. Who's your start?
Well, I mean, it's not that stupid. I'm kind of on the same train as Steve, right? You're not coming to us because you're looking for some scrub off the scrap heap to start in your roster. If you're in a final, or even if in your case, Ryan, you're playing for the number one overall pick, right?
Sure am.
Like maybe, if you're playing for the number 1 overall pick, it probably means that you have some guys that are hot right now. Good luck taking those guys out of your roster spot, right? And if you're in the ship, you probably have a really solid number 1-2 punch running back duo, right? I don't know what the combination of. Obviously, you don't get to the final unless you have 2 studs that are like hauling in, 13 to 15 points a game for you, right? Or a week for you. So I know I'm like Steve in this one. I'm focusing on your flex spots. There's a number of guys out there, I would say from 15 to 25 who are kind of all in the same boat where you can sort of feel good about starting it all. So cherry pick guys like this. I think Jerick McKinnon was a guy that I sort of had on my list too, as a dude that I would probably put in there above many names. But he's been selected. So I think the guy for me is I'm going to take Brian Robinson Jr. He of the shot in the butt, Washington Commanders, force fed the ball last week. 22 carries, didn't have a big day, but it was against one of the best defenses in the league, right? So this week he plays the Browns defense that surrendered 334 rushing yards in the last 2 weeks. This is versus Baltimore and New Orleans. So it's not like it's mega prolific rushing attacks, but these are people that can pound the rock. And if you're going to give them, force feed them the run, I think Robinson's the type of guy that can obviously carry that load, and he's going to do a lot more damage than he did last week for a modest, I think it was like 58 yards or something like that. Right. So like I said, there's many other guys that you can be starting in this spot, but if I have Brian Robinson Jr. and I'm looking at a couple of guys who are maybe ranked 5, 6, 7 spots ahead of him, I'm finding it very difficult to not put Robinson in one of those flex spots to use him for this week, because I really do think he's going to beat up on the Browns.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I can't believe you just said that the Ravens were not a prolific rushing attack.
Sorry, I'm talking about it's a weird rushing attack, right? I mean, because you're used to seeing sort of it spread out between multiple players, right? I think you're going to see 1-2 running backs carry the rock in Baltimore, and they're going to be high end double digits for yards, and then you're also going to see a quarterback run for like 50 or 60 in a game too. So yeah, you're going to see 150 rushing yards in a game, but you're going to see it divvied up between 3 guys. I'm thinking in this case that you're going to see it mostly go to 1 guy. So it's not like a slouch on what Baltimore's been doing. I just think they just distribute a lot better than most teams do.
I detect a slouch. I'm detecting a slouch. Just saying. I'm picking that up.
Lamar wrecked the AFC North, right? He's the reason that in the AFC North there's like a whole bunch of like 6-foot-tall, 125-pound linebackers running around out there because nobody can cover this guy. They have to have a team full of spies to just watch him, right? So, yeah, I mean, is Lamar their number one running back, or is he their number two running back? I don't know. It's so divvied up that I don't know if there's a true answer to that. When he's healthy, I should say.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. I'm going to get into my start here.
By all means, Ryan, if you can put Lamar into your flex spot, you should do that.
No, you shouldn't.
I got Najee Harris in my flex, unfortunately, so I can't help you there. You got to keep your boys. He of the all Romeo team, Romeo Dobbs, 8 of 11 targets in his last couple of games with Christian Watson, may be getting sidelined for the Vikings-Packers game. It could be appointment viewing for Mr. Dobbs. Now, he's been hurt this season, but he's had some pretty big games as he was getting used to that offense. The last 2 weeks hasn't been spectacular, but like I said, went 5 for 5 in week 15, 3 for 6 in week 16, 55 and 36 yards respectfully. If he ends up being the guy that is going in, I mean, if Watson kind of goes down and he's off, him and Rodgers do have some pretty decent chemistry. Rodgers could probably air it out, and I think he does trust Dobbs. And it's a week where, I mean, I'm playing against them, but I'm also telling you if you do need a start, he's not a bad option. I think Aaron Rodgers still has a little bit left in the tank before he pieces out of town. And, I mean, it's against the Vikings. It's going to be, I think, a light show. I think we're going to see some fun stuff through the air. I mean, Justin Jefferson's going to have himself a day, I'm sure, as well. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's a classic Packers-Vikings matchup, and Dobbs is one of the stars in that. So, again, if you need him, if you're on the consolation side, because if you're on the other side, you probably don't need him because you probably have someone better, like, a Keenan Allen or one of the Williams, or I don't know who's good. Who's good? Yeah, Christian Watson. Yeah, I don't really know who the good players are because I'm on the other side of the ledger. So I'm hanging out in the slums, and we're we're Kentucky Fried Chicken later. Like,
would it be crazy if, like, in like wacky what if NFL world, if Aaron Rodgers played 2 more years and next year he ends up in the Jets, and the year after that he somehow ends up in Minnesota?
Oh my goodness! You know what?
Do you guys remember back in the day when Adam Rank used to write those things for NFL Network, and it was called the NFL, and he would do all these scenarios where it's like, what if Brett Favre didn't get traded, and like he goes through like this whole thing and like does the NFL. It was so like it would have been a perfect thing for Ryan because it's such a like weird construct. Like it just takes you down all these weird rabbit holes.
I love those.
Yeah,
I love those. So I'm just trying to think like who's on the Vikings that would go and recruit him, and they'd fly the plane out and bring him in, and it would be like, do you remember that day? You remember that day when there's all that talk like, oh, they're going to get Brett Favre, and you see the plane take off and you're watching. I remember that whole day, and at like 3 p.m, here comes the plane. I'm like, I've been watching this long enough. I've seen two planes happen here, and within like a couple hours, like Brett Favre is a Minnesota Viking. Like,
it was the early 2000s equivalent of like the white Bronco down the freeway.
It was like it had that kind of impact, right? I remember NFL Network was all over it that day, and I must have had the day off, obviously, and I'm just watching like, I have nothing better to do today. I need to see how this thing ends. Sure enough, this isn't Super Bowl, man. This is Detroit. So. Good times. That pretty. Oh, Chris had Noah Fant. If you need Noah Fant, you should go start him. That's what he's telling you to do. Noah Fant. It's not surprising. This is Seahawk. Evan Ingram's out there. If you can do him, Tyler Lockett. He said it's a Seahawk. We could have named anyone for the Seattle Seahawks.
Seahawks Sunday, but I'm still starting Fant with confidence, which may be why I didn't make the playoffs this year. Love it.
It's that's how she goes. So, you guys, some of you are going to be going into your championship week tomorrow. No one in this show. Some of you are going to be going to a consolation final, and in my case, that's for the first pick. I'm very excited. I've only ever traded for this pick, so it's very exciting. I have an opportunity to win it organically. Gluten-free. And
to be honest, I have no stake in the game, but I really want you to win it because the last time you traded for it, I can't even remember. I know you picked Kareem Hunt, and I can't remember who are the other running backs in the Kareem Hunt draft. I'm trying to think.
Oh, that's
There was
right.
It was Fournette, I think, was the other guy, right?
Yeah, it
I
was
was actually I was gonna, so I was like hard on for Leonard Fournette. Like I had the biggest like football boner for Leonard Fournette for like months. And I thought like I tried trading for him like the previous, or for the pick like the previous year, and I was going all in, and I finally made it happen. And then I've got a buddy who bets an obscene amount of money on football and does quite well, and just a work relationship. And so he's like, no, man, you got to go after Kareem Hunt, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, I mean, all right. This is who I was. He's like, no, leave Fournette alone. You got to go after Kareem Hunt. Obviously blows up. And plus I have really, really bad history with my first round picks. Maybe I gave one up for Cooper Kupp and then traded him for Melvin Gordon, who may or may not even be playing football next year. So sometimes, you know what, though? The curse of that trade has lived on, and somehow I may redeem myself 6 weeks later or 8 weeks later.
You got Jahan Dotson in that trade, and guess
That's
what?
true.
He's in your lineup trying to get you that first overall pick. So I looked it up while you were talking, Ryan. You could have had Alvin Kamara.
Oh, no kidding.
You could have had Christian McCaffrey, or you could have had Leonard Fournette. And I expected those guys to kind of be like, no, I know Kamara wasn't quite.
That's a killer class.
Yeah.
So,
and you went on the clock, and I was like, okay, it's gonna be Leonard Fournette, or maybe he's gonna go kind of a little off the board and take Christian McCaffrey, because there was some questions whether he was gonna be like
right
as an NFL pro. And
I remember that. Yeah,
picked Kareem Hunt, and I'm like, no way! Like, hold the phone, everybody! Like everybody's scribbling their draft boards out. Like, no, I didn't have Kareem Hunt until like the 4th round. What the hell is this dude doing?
And he was a league winner.
Ridiculous year, and everybody was like, Ryan.
He looked like the Nash Marshall Falk.
He was. Andy Reid just like absolutely just let him run wild that year, and I'm just giggling every week. I'm like, thank you so much.
Yeah, you look like you knew what you were doing. And then again, hindsight is 2020, because I'm pretty sure you'd rather have Christian McCaffrey all these years past.
Oh yeah, long run. I mean, unfortunately, if it wasn't for obviously the incident, I mean, Kareem Hunt, because I ended up dropping him, I think, at some point, just because obviously the Ray Rice thing was still pretty fresh as well. And like, what do you do? I mean, it's fantasy football, and like, things have kind of changed now. It's like, well, I mean, is he really that bad of a guy? Like, that's how this NFL treats these things, right? So, how many times have we seen, the Deshaun Watson stuff? Or, I mean, there's been a lot of guys that have done some stuff, and you're like, well, I'm just going to go stash him over here. And like when Michael Vick came back, or, there's been too many unfortunate, incidents that have happened. And we're all suckers for the fact that, I mean, fantasy football comes along and like, this guy's an absolute stud when he gets on the field, and I don't agree with it in real life, but I also would rather win $1,000 or whatever. Like, it sucks to say, but it's the truth. And don't say that let's be honest. Fantasy football, we're all unfortunate people, and you will take that guy if he was available to you. So
I think the big lesson here for NFL players, that is, as long as you're not betting on the game, you should be okay.
Which is, I mean, yeah,
stupid.
It's ridiculous. So you look at all those and you think, yeah, that one to me makes no sense. So anyway, good luck to all you people that are in the Fantasy Championship. Feel free to come by and tag us and all that crap. And next week, we're doing the awards show. I got a lot of preparation to do, and I'm very excited. Last year was awesome. We had Jim Coventry on. He was just on a few weeks ago, and I don't need to tag him for that. I don't think he needs to be here because, I mean, he's got better things to do. He has a very well-paying job talking about real things instead of, who was the best of the worst starts in week 13. Who was the okayest advisor, stuff like that. So, I mean, if we can get a guest, by all means, we'll have one. But other than that,
baby. Let's get him in.
Who's who? Yeah. I've been trying to get a cameo for him, and it's kind of tough. So We'll make something happen. We need him to be our spokesperson. Eventually, we'll become friends. This is how it starts.
Yeah.
You pay him a fee, and eventually we become friends. So,
I think that's something different.
Ooh,
hey, how do you guys make friends?
that's the world's best advisor right there.
That's exactly. Any final words, boys?
Happy New Year's.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's a 2023
New year, New Year's, New Year. Happy New Year.
New year, new you. New year, new me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna draft better next year. I'm gonna not make bad trades next year. It's not.
This
true,
is like
but-
the resolutionists, Ryan. Like, no, starting January 1st, I am not making bad trades or bad draft picks. Yes, I will come February 1st.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? Okay, so last year, I was last year the year that I was in the final? It was the year before last. I was in the year that I was in the final. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go with my gut this year. I'm just gonna do it. And if I feel like it's the right call, it's gonna be the right call. And so it was the right call all year until that day that I didn't start Stafford. Again, I don't think it mattered. I got pretty squashed in that final, so it wouldn't have changed anything. But then, this year I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna stick to the plan. I'm gonna run the numbers, and I'm gonna do the numbers thing. Didn't matter. Still got stomped in a semifinal. So you know what? None of it matters. Just get to the dance and then see how it goes.
Great advice. Very sage advice, sir.
Yeah.
Very sage. Nice shirt, by the way.
Just get there. You can't win if you don't get invited. So get the invite first.
That's true. Steve, final words from the Bass Pro Shop.
Nope. Ted said it best. You want to get a ticket to the dance, and then once you're at the dance, you might end up dancing with the prom queen, or you might end up sitting on the sidelines drinking punch. But guess what? You're at the dance. At least I'm not there.
They didn't even invite you.
At least you had a chance.
It was free. The dance was free.
You're telling me there's a nope. You
Not
don't
even.
even get invited.
You're gonna have to get off the premises, sir. You don't go to this school. So, on behalf of vacated Chris Phillips, my good friend Steve, and Ted, I'm Ryan. This is That Helps No One FantasyCast on the Dean Blundell Network. Good luck this week.